there comes a time for every writer or podcaster or whoever to make a stand, to make a statement, maybe change some things. And I think that time for me is now. So I just like to, before we start the show, just to say, go USA. Here's the show.
You're listening to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans.
If you want to have guarantees, you have to buy a wash machine. We don't lose a match, either we win or we learn. And today we learned.
It's infield to Mane, 25 yards out. Lovely ball for Bella. Onside, 1-0. Buffon shot. Oh my word.
Unbelievable. We ran around the pitch like Bambi on ice. It was very, very embarrassing to watch.
And now, your host, Matt Markstone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast and newsletter dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans, and available right here on southamptondelivery.com. My name is Matt Markstone. I am the host of the show, and no matter where you are, no matter how you may be listening, whether this is your first time or you've been here before, thanks for making the show part of your day. I hope you enjoy it, and welcome to the first episode of July, and welcome to a wonderful time to be a Southampton fan, with Che Adams coming in, Danny Ings being made a permanent signing as a result of our loan with obligation to buy from last year from Liverpool, and the departure of Matt Targett, which doesn't necessarily make it a good day, but it means that the team and the club are doing what is necessary to get things going in this transfer window. And it's nice to see us add some options up front. And now that makes, two new signings plus the addition of Ings. Team may be a little bit top heavy, but we'll talk about all of that. And we still have just over a month left in the transfer window. Of course, the window closes this year on the eve of the new season. So lots and lots of stuff to talk about. And joining me this week to talk about all of it is Jay from the Southampton Page. Jay runs the Southampton Page. The Southampton Page is the official partner of the show. So it's always a pleasure to have Jay on. And it was just a good time to get together with him to talk about some of the things that are going on. I mean, the Southampton Page, for those of you who don't know, does a lot of stuff around news. They bring you news kind of each and every day. And Jay took a couple of weeks off right at the end of the season. But since then, he has been on it in the team, and he have been keeping me and I think everyone else who follows them up to date with all of the transfer news, some rumors and everything else in between. So a pleasure to talk to him, and a pleasure to be able to talk about some positives going on at the club. So from people coming back for preseason, that also happened on Monday, to the new signings and everything else in between. Jay and I will talk about all of that. So if you don't follow them at Southampton Page, do that. But now let's get to my conversation with Jay. And thanks for listening again. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Here we go. We'd like to welcome back to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, Jay from the Southampton Page, the official partner page of the show. And it is the 1st of July. I have lied to the club on Twitter, telling them we had done the show yesterday in hopes that they would announce some signings and some departures before we actually did it. And they've done that. We're back. So, Jay, how are you? And welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be back on the show again. I say it's like I'm here every day, every time I'm doing a podcast with you. But yeah, it's I said it's 1st of July. The transfers are obviously starting to come in, and it's a sunny day, so can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, and we were talking a little bit beforehand. We both have, you have a little bit of hay fever. I have a little bit of like allergies from being out in the yard, but. I mean, I don't think either of us are going to worry about that right now, because it's been an exciting like, hour since I've been awake. Woke up to news of both Adams in and Targett out, and some backroom changes and everything else. So it's been an exciting day, and we're gonna talk about it all. But before we do any of that, let's catch up with you. You haven't been on since the last match of the season against Huddersfield, and I think we're in a little bit better mood now. But Anything new with you or the account, or any new plans for the upcoming season? Because basically now preseason is starting today. So we're all, we're basically heading towards the season now. So anything new for you coming up this season?
Well, we've just recently had a new profile picture done, which we'd like to thank the guys at DSB Media for that. They sorted out us a profile picture, which obviously is now on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So yeah, as I said, I'd like to thank them guys for taking the time to sort that for me. And obviously, we're looking at doing new changes to the page every day. Obviously, we've still got the same team doing the work. But yeah, basically, new profile picture and getting ready for a new season, or hopefully more ups and downs.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully with the signings we're making, we have that, and we'll have to talk about some of the impacts of that and what it means going forward. But this past weekend, we also had, Saints Fest has also been a thing. And unfortunately, either it's going to come home or they're going to go home. The USA plays England tomorrow in the semifinal of the Women's World Cup. So it'll be today by the time you hear this. But we'll talk a little bit about that, simply because it's, I don't know, it's a little bit of it's kind of a big deal. So I will be basically full kit US tomorrow, and I don't care. So until then, we'll talk about Saints, because that's really what this is all about. So once again, if people haven't followed you yet, they hear me say it every week. It's at Southampton Page. They can do that. That'll be nice and easy. The links are in the show notes as always. But I guess let's start with the big news, and that is Danny Ings is officially a Saint.
Yeah, that was officially.
Just kidding. Well, let's actually start with Adams. I was just trying to do that.
Got me on that. I'll tell you, you're good.
Well, the people won't see your facial reaction to that, but you were very much ready to say Adams is here. But anyway, so I mean, Che Adams signs from Birmingham. We all kind of knew it was coming. The reports had been kind of going around Twitter, and I know you, I think, are better at discerning kind of what's true and what's not than a lot of people. A lot of people just, like, any rumor, they're just going to go with it. There's a guy on Twitter currently trying to take credit for every transfer rumor out there, but who cares about him? But, like, this isn't necessarily a surprise. It was just, the team was seeming to kind of play around with it was basically £1 or £2 million or whatever it is. But I mean, Adams coming in now for Birmingham, what is that? What does he bring to the team for you? And do you think this is I guess, how excited are you about the signing? Because I think we've already established that we're both pretty. We both feel good about it, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about the transfer move. Obviously, I wasn't sure if it was going to happen, as Birmingham seemed to be holding out for more than what was on the plate. Obviously, we ended up agreeing a fee for around 15 million. There was some reports that they wanted 20, but then I read a report from We Are Birmingham who stated, which I obviously didn't know, that Che had an agreement with his agent and the club that he could leave this summer. So it was always going to happen. It was just a case of when. So I think Birmingham in the end decided that was a good enough offer and the deal happened. But I think the goals that we've been lacking, I'm sure with now the signing of Ginepro and obviously the Ings signing completed this summer, I think we're going to be looking quite good up front. Obviously Redmond as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have revamped our attack, and that was definitely something that we needed to address. If you look at kind of how we played down the stretch last season, you look at kind of the lack of depth up front. Obviously Shane Long had a decent second half of the season, or a decent little run there where he scored several goals kind of in succession. But relying on Danny Ings to play 90 minutes, that's tough. We needed to add somebody up front who could help Redmond out, who could take pressure off of Redmond. And now I think we've added two other players that teams are going to have to focus on. So I think it makes our attack much more dynamic. I am a little bit worried about what this means for guys like Redmond in terms of where he's going to play in the formation. Are they going to play him on the right? Are they going to play, are they going to play him up top with Adams? And does that mean Ings is suddenly, without a starting spot, or how is that all going to work? But we'll have to kind of wait and see.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see what's going to happen with Austin and Obafemi. There's been reports that Austin has been linked with Sheffield United, Fulham, West Brom, Aston Villa. So I think something will happen with him. I know he returned to pre-season training this morning, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was gone by the end of this month. And Obafemi, I'm not sure what's going to happen with him, really, because I thought might get a chance this season, but with the signings of Adams, I'm not sure if that puts his development back, so we could look at Obafemi going on loan possibly. I don't know what you think on that one. I
think it'll be interesting because I think, Rob was a little bit critical of Obafemi last year about his kind of body type and his physical shape. He's got a lot of energy. He's got pace, and he is young and can develop, but it's the injuries are going to be a problem for him if he can't. I mean, if you can't play, give it, I guess put the minutes in on the pitch and run that hard for that long. I don't know if it's gonna work out. And obviously Adams is young. I mean, he's 22, right? But he scored a ton of goals last season in the championship. And I think people are going to be expecting him to come in and start, and it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts to the pace of the Premier League and just the difference in playing, in the championship to the Premier League. And I know the championship is physical. It's a much faster paced game, I think, than a lot of people give it credit for. And I know that there are a lot of people here in the States even who appreciate and watch the championship. One thing I noticed, you posted a video of all of his goals from last season, right? That you did that on, I think, all three platforms. Yeah,
I placed it on Facebook. I was a bit worried about Twitter because obviously we've had a report, a video where this I think it's DMCLA was saying about if we posted one more video on Twitter, our account could be suspended. So we've decided to stop posting videos there. On Facebook, I'm not too worried about, so I risked it yesterday and put it on Facebook. So hopefully they don't get me on that. Otherwise, that might disappear as well.
Well, yeah. So that, I mean, that video on Facebook, I sat and watched it, and I don't know, like I would say a couple of things jumped out to me. One, the part of it was because there was no announcing or very few announcers in the video, so you could just hear the crowd. The crowds look different. Like the crowds, they sound different. And I don't know, once again, if it's just because there's the absence of the announcer, so it's focused on the crowd. But the crowd, I mean, looks like they are going nuts at every goal. And I hope that Saints can bring a little bit of that energy, to the matches sometimes, because I think our away fans are always great. The home fans have been not impressed with what's been happening on the pitch, and I just hope that Adams making the step from the championship up to the Premier League, hopefully, he is kind of awestruck by the support he is given right away. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like I said, and that's the thing, you made a point about it. Obviously, when you watch the video, everyone sees the championship goals and says, well, can he do that in the Premier League? But I think he's at the right stage of his career to do the step up, and he's got the right manager in Ralph to make that level, because obviously when you walk into the Premier League, it's a totally different ball game. It's very competitive. There's more harder games, obviously, for the players. So I think he's going to come into the league, and I don't know if it's the right way to put it, but he could be the next Jamie Vardy, because a lot of people have said that he's similar to him with the journey he's taken from non-league to the Premier League. So let's see if he can step up to the plate and crack on from there.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, because another thing, a couple of things that I noticed is, one, I don't think he scored any goals with his head. I think they were all on the ground. And maybe I missed one or two, but I didn't notice there wasn't like a strong kind of aerial presence, at least. And maybe that's just the way Birmingham plays. There wasn't a lot of that maybe looking for him that way. He seemed to like the ball in at his feet. Early on in the season, when he was scoring some of those goals, they weren't the cleanest of strikes. The balls were kind of bumbling into the into the net and things like that. But I think later on you can see him develop over the season, where some of the strikes that he had, especially right around Christmas, and then later on were impressive. And I think you look at the player we're getting and the age that he is at, and I think you can't really be anything but excited. I don't want to put too much pressure on him and say, oh, he's got to come in and score, 12 or 15 goals this season, because I'm not sure that's fair to him. But I think for him to come in and to play a pretty significant role as a young player in a Premier League side, I think he's going to be great. And I think he's going to complement Redmond and Djenepo very, very well. And I think if Ings can stay fit and we have kind of those four attackers in from, if 60 minutes of a match together, I think we're going to cause people some trouble. So I'm thoroughly excited by the signing. And last season, for those that don't know, I think everybody does by now, 22 goals, 5 assists. He's basically a center forward. And I mean, I don't know. I'm thoroughly excited about seeing him come into the team. And I just hope that, I hope that he makes the kind of development and makes the jump that I guess Ralph has been able to do with other players of his age and type over the course of his career.
Thing is, that's another good comment, and I think I was just going to add something of my own. I think with Adams, we've got to be careful and not to put much pressure on him, because I think if you see Redmond got a lot of pressure when he first joined, and he had a bit of obviously, as we know with his last season, before this season, he was struggling. So Adams may, and I hope not, I'm hoping he'll hit the ground running, but once he comes in, people need to have patience. And I think under Ralph, with Redmond, Adams can reach his potential, and you never know. Obviously, this is talking way in the future, but Adams could make the England squad, because we've already seen that Prowsley and Redmond have been called up under Ralph. So why not a good season for Che, and he could be looking at England as well. So everyone just needs to be patient with Adams and not get on his back too quickly. Otherwise, we could have the same Redmond situation of a lack of confidence, because I think their situations do compare in ways.
There are those people on the Saints FC hashtag that tend not to like young black football players. So we'll hopefully that and I don't often address that on the show, but hopefully those people keep their mouths shut and let the guy play football and support him when he's on the pitch. So I think that'll be good. And then I've just done the conversion because, of course, I'm American, so I need it in feet. He's not a big guy, Che Adams, 5'9", and so it's he's not. That explains the lack of headed goals. So hopefully we'll keep the ball on the ground and play some nice football, and that'll be good.
Yeah, I think unfortunately we're not going to be getting a Peter Crouch type of player. So I think it'd be a bit like Ings likes the ball at his feet, and as you've seen by some of his goals, he likes to, once he gets onto it, he likes to stick it in the back of the net. So hopefully we'll see more of that this season. And some of the shots he took quite early and from maybe a little bit further out than you would expect. And I think that's going to be good, because I think we've had guys that have been too timid in front of goal. And I think that if you have a guy who is willing to take a shot, force the goalkeeper to make a save, or get it off the post or whatever, it causes confusion. And then that's when you just have to have those guys that are attacking the rebound and going in for it. And I think that's going to be great for us. And, you look at the way Liverpool at times press the ball high, get shots away, and that creates confusion amongst the back line. And once you have that confusion, you are in the driver's seat, because it just takes a touch or so and the ball's in the back of the net. So hopefully we can do some of that stuff as well. But let's move on a little bit from that. We joked earlier that Ings is now a permanent signing. I think that is important. I think a lot of people, some people this morning are questioning the fee and how much we paid for him. And the truth is, we agreed to it last year. This is a formality. He's ours. We knew what we were getting into. And granted, he was made under a previous regime, right? Like Mark Hughes was the manager at the time. He came in on deadline day. The backroom staff that made the signing, this is still Les Reed is in charge at this point. So it's a much different kind of prospect now.
and you wonder, can he fit and play in the system? Because he didn't fit in Klopp's system, really. He didn't feature much for Klopp. He was injured a lot. And now, is he going to be able to do it in Ralph? So I think that is a question mark, and I really hope that he is fine. He looked, he was out here in LA just recently, training and looking like he was getting fit and strong, and Redmond was also out here, and it's been from the videos that are out there, of course, they are kind of PR stuff, but like he looked really, really good. He looked like he was fit. He looked like he was enjoying himself. He looked like he's ready to go back and get after it, and I really hope that's the case.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed on Instagram, that Danny has been really been making a point of training a lot. He just done, I think he was doing an Instagram series about, I'm trying to remember the name now. He was doing a pre-season season where he's been showing he's been doing exercises, he's been doing training. I think he's been linking up with a fitness coach. So that shows me he's really determined this season to make a mark, because last season, I mean, as I said it on the Huddersfield podcast review, he didn't score since December, so I'm sure he'll really want to start the season, get some goals going, and have a good season, because obviously with the competition that he's now got, it all should spur him on. So, like I said, but he looked good in the summer. He hasn't been one of them, because most players, they say, just sit there and do nothing, but don't make an effort. But I think he's really put in that 100% effort, and I think that will show this season, I'd like to think.
Yeah, I think that the addition of Che Adams means that there's now competition in the squad, right? There's competition for that spot, and because I think it was pretty clear that Danny Ings was going to start up front if he was fit, and now I think that and not because I think we will wind up with seeing a couple of guys up front leave, and by a couple I think I just mean Charlie Austin, but I think the number of people might not change, because I think the squad actually needs to be cut down a little bit, but I think the quality of what Che Adams brings to the team and where he's at in his career versus where Austin is, I think that'll mean that Ings has got to push it a little bit, and hopefully his body just doesn't betray him, because that's been his biggest kind of concern over much of his career is just simply staying fit. But I don't know. I'm excited about him being there. I think he is. He came in last season, and I think he was. You could see from very early on, he was one of the best players on the pitch when he's playing. And hopefully now he just continues to kind of move on and develop, and hopefully we see some joy from him this season. I guess the next thing to discuss, though, is we've had some movement out, and that's Matt Targett has left the club after what seems like a lifetime of service at Saints, and it's I don't know. What are your initial thoughts on Targett moving to Aston Villa?
It's a sad day for the sense of he obviously is one of our academy players. So him leaving makes people a bit upset, but I think it's the right move for him. He's at the age now where he's been trying to get into the first team. He's been fighting with Ryan, and because he was linked with a move actually, because the Daily Echo did a post about Bertrand and Targett saying the club were happy to let one go. So I would guess that now means Bertrand will be staying. But no, I think Matt reached that, because I was listening to his interview with Aston Villa today, and it seemed he was not given the guarantees he was going to get the playing time this season. So it seemed this was the right time for him to move on. And Aston Villa, a newly promoted club, and I think the pressure is less high on him there, so that will help him going forward, I think.
Well, and I think Aston Villa, I think he's their fifth signing of the summer. They are definitely making some moves to try to improve their team over what they brought up from the Championship, and I don't think you can blame him. Kind of like you said, it's maybe the pressure won't be there, but the playing time and is what kind of he deserves. I think he's done everything that you can do at Saints. He's done everything the club has asked. He's played under 23 ball. He has played in cup competitions. He's gone out on loan and had 2 really good spells and had teams come after him already. He stepped in for Bertrand last year when Bertrand was out injured. He played well. Not everybody likes him. Not everybody thinks he's got what it takes. I said on an earlier podcast, if I had to pick one of them to sell, is Bertrand better right now? Yes. But does Matt Targett possess, I think, what it takes to play Premier League football? I also think yes. And I think I would have taken Bertrand leaving. I would have been a little bit upset about it because I like him, but I think Matt Targett would have been fine over this year and next year. The only thing I would have said that maybe is a little bit concerning is that means you have 2 really young fullbacks playing. You think of Valerie on the right and Targett on the left. That is not a lot of experience, and on a back line where we are struggling for some leadership. I think that could have been an issue, but overall for Targett to move out and maybe he doesn't have the pace to kind of fit in the system and play wing back, but for him to move out and go get essentially Premier League football, I think it's going to be good for him. And I think it's another testament to the Southampton Academy that they have produced another really, Premier League quality player who's going to go. I think he left the right way. Nobody's going to be mad at him for leaving. Overall, I think this is going to be good for him and for the team in general. But now, the question, I guess, becomes who is behind Bertrand now. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But any other kind of, and I don't know, not worry, but any other kind of conversation around Targett leaving? You think the fee was good? I mean, you look at the fee. It is reported somewhere between 14 and 17 million pounds. There's the potential there that we sold Targett, who is essentially our backup left back, for more than we bought, Adams for, which I think for once we can say that's a really good bit of business from the team where we seem to have missed in a couple of windows previously.
Yeah, and that's another good point, considering when the negotiations were first talked about, Aston Villa only wanted to offer 8 million. So for us to get from 8 million to 17 million, I think is the maximum that it reaches with add-ons. But to get to that sort of level from 8 million is a testament to the club. And obviously the new board members that have come in have set their stall on what they want from this summer. And I think that shows with the Adams deal, as you say, with the price, Targett, and of course, obviously, there's other players linked with exits. So I think it's a good thing. It's a new era for the board, I think, and they've made they've made the right steps going forward.
Well, and I think it's important because we talked about net spend and things like that, and we've looked at how much we've sold players for and what we've invested in the squad, and you look at the comments from Gao earlier this summer or towards the end of the season about how the team is not a pig that needs to be fattened or whatever he said. It's kind of all laid out there that we're not going to just pump a bunch of money into the club and buy a bunch of players in the transfer market. We're going to have to sell players on. And I think we all want certain players to go. I don't think very many Saints fans are going to complain if guys like Wesley Hoop move, if Austin moves, things like that. But I think the truth is we're going to have to sell some players who are actually good. And if we want to make money in the transfer window and therefore be able to spend that money. And it's going to be kind of a different thing for us to go through that. But I don't know. I am really impressed with the kind of the revamp of the I guess of the strategy and of the willingness to make moves and this seems like a good move for Targett and for us actually if you look at it in that respect. But I don't know. I'm super excited about what we're doing right now, and I can only hope that it works out in the long run.
Yeah, and of course, as you say, there's players which I think will start vamping up now. Will be the players that we need to get rid of. There's still a lot of players that Saints need to get rid of, and hopefully the funds from that will hopefully get our centre back that we've been asking out for. That's the next important sign for me, the centre back, because now our forward line's looking good. Our defence is the worry. We need that kind of leader in the back. So I'm hoping with this next bit of funding we can get that centre back, or maybe 2 centre backs, depending on how many you think we need.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question. Is the team now appears a little bit top heavy, all of the, which we definitely needed. We definitely needed to improve the attack a little bit because, when not scoring goals is not going to work. You can't draw a bunch of games 0-0 and hope to do very well. And I also think that if we are losing games 3-2 versus losing games 1-0, I think people will still be excited. If we're scoring 2 or 3 goals a game, I think people are going to be a little bit more lenient, and at least we're entertained, right? That'll be part of it, and that'll last for a little while. But yeah, I think now the back line needs to be strengthened a little bit, and I think Bednarak, I hope Bednarak will retain a spot, but I think we need somebody next to him, and I think Vestergaard can do it. But it's going to require a lot of work on his part. And I don't know. I guess I'm not overly confident with the options we have at center back. As much as I want to be supportive of the guys we have and recognize the job that guys like Ishida have done, I think that there's a lot to be desired there in terms of leadership on the back line. So we'll have to see kind of who's out there. And the links around center backs, I think, have kind of dried up a little bit. They haven't really seemed to fit the mold so far. So I'm not convinced that we have anybody, maybe one particular person in line to come in, or if that deal's close. But I'm sure people will start speculating on that now that the front line seems to be taken care of.
Yeah, and of course with our defence, as we know, I think you read the stat out on the last. On with me, the winning positions last year, how many winning positions we were in and we ended up losing most of them was due to defensive mistakes. That's why it's crucial for me that we make signings. If we keep the same defence, I think we'll still have the same problems. I'm not saying we need to change the whole defence, but I think we just need that one, like, as you said, we missed the leader in the back. We need someone that's a leader kind of, there haven't been many links in the media for a sort of leader. There's been like little bits, like I think a young Danish defender, I can't remember his name offhand, but a Danish centre back was linked with us a few weeks back. So I definitely think the centre back is important for us now, and we need to make sure that we change our stacks. We don't want to be being 1-0 up and then losing 2-1, as that happened a lot. So we need that to be fixed this summer as well. That's my next thing that needs to be fixed to look good for the season.
Yeah, absolutely. The kind of other thing that happens today, obviously, we're talking on Monday. It's almost 3 p.m. your time, so we've left it late in hopes that the team would announce some things, and they did. And the guys are back for preseason today, and I think people will read into a lot of what happens there, and they were hoping not to see certain players there, but Austin was in the picture, Gallagher was in the picture. Those guys have been linked with moves away. We touched on Austin a little bit, but do you think that he will be on his way out, or do you think he will start the season still in a Saints shirt?
I must admit, when I saw Austin, I was a bit surprised, but of course he's still contracted to the club, so I was a bit. Honestly, I'd like to see him leave this window, and I don't really see how he can continue, because the way I look at it, you've got Adams, Ings, Long, Redmond who can play out front, and obviously one of them will drop to the bench, where Austin has been on the bench, so I can't see Austin making the bench. And then there's Gallagher, who I think will depart as well. So yeah, I think Austin's time, it'll probably be a bit like Adams. He started training with Birmingham and obviously departed. So I think Austin will come back early, and then I reckon as we get to the middle of the month, I think he'll be at a new club. I don't know which one, but hopefully not this one.
He would definitely be kind of. I guess that's the logical place to cut from, right? If since we've made the signings up top, his target was chasing first team football, and if Austin has any sort of the same motivations, he'll be looking to move, but. I think the only thing Charlie is chasing right now is horses, and maybe a few trolls on Twitter, which is great. So Gallagher, though, he seems to be kind of in the same position as Targett was, where he's got to look at the team as well and say, like, his options are not as great. The prospect of him starting games for us is almost non-existent. Him coming in and playing a few minutes here or there, I don't even know right now if he could get on the bench for the team. And so I think it'll be kind of interesting to see what he decides to do, or if he pushes for a move or comes to an agreement, and he'll probably almost surely have to take a step down. Going to the championship, I would say, would be fine for him. That's probably where he kind of belongs, but I wouldn't say I'm excited to see him leave, but do you think that he'll be gone as well?
Yeah, I think he needs to leave for the right of his career. He's been one of them that everyone keeps believing he was going to be the next Ricky Lambert. This is talking years back, that he could be the new Ricky Lambert. Obviously, Adam's signing puts his future in further doubt, because I can't even put Austin on the bench at the moment, so he's not even going to get anywhere near the bench. But Sky Sports did report yesterday that Blackburn are in talks over a possible deal for $5 million, which I think $5 million for Gallagher for us is a great deal. So I think he needs to, if, as you said with Austin, if he's got that motivation to play football, unfortunately he needs to look away from Southampton and look at a further level, and his wages, he needs to significantly drop. There you go, I got the word out. Drop, as they're quite high, and the clubs he's looking at won't be able to offer the same amount of weekends. We're on Premier League wages. So yeah, I think for the right of his career, he needs to make the move this summer.
Well, and then that's part of the deal that we are running into, is a lot of the wages that these guys are on. If you look at some of the deals that Les Reed brought in and made towards the end of his tenure at Saints, they are causing us trouble now, because if I'm Gallagher, I can live very comfortably in a place that I am familiar with. I can make a lot of money and train and be fit and be a really good looking dude with my shirt off, and enjoy that and enjoy my life and make a ton of football, or make a ton of money and not play football. Or I can take a significant cut, have to go, maybe travel on a bus and play in some places that are not as great, and work maybe a little bit harder, but I get to play. And so it's just kind of, a lot of it's up to the guys themselves to decide what they're going to be willing to do. So you look at Targett, you look at, he's made the move. I have questions about Austin's desire to go do that, and maybe that's unfair of me to question him at this point, but based on just some of the things that he said online and things like that, and maybe it's time for him to go. And Gallagher, you would hope that he's young enough to still have that desire to want to go do that. So we will have to kind of wait and see. But I think those are, at least Austin probably would be the one that I would assume would be on his way out. And there have to be moves elsewhere in the squad for guys like, you said that the Jordy Classy stuff has gone seemingly quiet. I'm trying to think in my head over the past week of what's really been said, but there hasn't been. Most of the focus has been on Che Adams coming in and Targett going out, rather than much of anything else happening. Yeah,
Classy is in a bit of a catch-22 at the moment. I think he wants to go back to Holland. However, his contract's still here, so I think, as we haven't seen the photos for who's come back for pre-season, I don't know if he's come back today, because it's quite complicated, actually, when you think about who's come back today. I know a few are still on holiday. I think Cedric hasn't come back because his loan's ended, but I think he done international duty, so he's still on a break. Carrillo, who's been linked with a move away, still in Madrid at the moment, so I think he's either been told to stay away or his future's nearly solved. So there's a lot of questions on who's come back and who hasn't, but that's why I'm hoping if Southampton put out a gallery later of who's come back for pre-season, we'll get a clearer picture kind of thing.
I'm excited about guys coming back, because finally we'll have some new images to look at and use for some of the edits and things like that, because I've been scraping by the last couple of weeks. And Cedric might not be coming back because he got married over the break. I saw it on Instagram, I think. He did get married to whoever his significant other is. I'm not sure. And now he appears to be in the United States. So I don't think he will be back all that soon, unless these pictures are posted, taken one day and posted at a different time. But it looks like he's somewhere other than Southampton, judging from his Instagram, which is like how I like to take my vacations, is by looking at other people's Instagrams, because I don't actually go anywhere, which is fine. I live where people vacation, so I'll take that, and I will not complain. Anybody else? Any other transfer rumors? I don't like to do transfer rumors that much, but it's obviously it fits with today and what's going on. And now that things are happening, they've actually happened. We're not talking about just one guy with a newly created Twitter account deciding this is gonna make a move, and then everybody goes nuts.
Yeah, but I mean, the rumors, like I said, I think are just Austin, Classy, Gallagher. There's other players I'd like to be. Boufal, of course, he was linked. I read this morning from a French report that Marseille are interested in him, but they've got to sell 3 or 4 players to even get him, which I always find a bit odd. So I guess that won't happen. I said there's a lot of players in our team that we need to decide what's happening with, and then we've got to think about Forster, McCarthy. I think them two have been linked with. I'm not sure who reported that, but I think Forster and McCarthy are a bit like a Matt Targett and Bertrand situation. One of them are allowed to go, but obviously I'd need to look into that a bit more. But I'm sure them two have been put up for transfer, or one's allowed to go. But I think McCarthy's more likely to go due to the fact Forster's on massive wages, and his agents probably said to him, "Stay where you are because you're on 80k or whatever it is." Yeah.
Why would you move and put yourself in a position where you're going to have to work a little bit harder, be a little bit more uncomfortable, and not make as much money? Like that doesn't. There's not a lot of people out there who are late in their career, who are recovering from injury, who are going to go like, you know what? What do I have to prove? The prospects of him getting back into the England team are probably not there. He's got really no motivation to go out and work that hard and move, which is unfortunate. And once again, I'm not necessarily questioning his integrity or anything else. I'm just saying, as a guy who, has a family to support and or just wants to support himself and whatever, like, why would you risk that, taking a move somewhere else? So we'll see. If anything else happens over the course of the week, before Thursday night, Friday morning, I will update it in the newsletter, which comes out each and every Friday morning, about 8:15 British Standard Time, or British Summer Time, not Standard Time, British Summer Time. So 8:15 in the UK, it gets delivered. You can sign up on the website at southamptondelivery.com. But let's move on just a little bit. I did want to make one thing about the announcement video for Che Adams is the Saints FC media team have been great at putting these things together. If you remember back to the Genepo announcement video, we had the Portsmouth ship out in the sea seemingly sinking, which I thought was fantastic. And this time they have Klopp following the train around in an airplane, which I thought it was just it's brilliant.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't actually notice it until I watched it the second time around, because I was excited for the signing. So I watched the video back and realised that there was a clock flying in the air and Ralph was making sure he disappeared. But I thought that was just quite comical from the club, actually. I think we've always been quite good with our media stuff, and we always seem to make an impression whenever we do videos. So yeah, no, I thought that was quite funny. I'm not sure how Liverpool fans reacted, but I'm hoping they would take it in a hilarious way as we have.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's one of those things where people are starting to watch those things just to see what we're going to poke fun at. And if you can't have a little bit of fun while you're announcing your new signing, then, what are you really doing? So I don't think anybody's going to be too upset about it. And I think it's all just kind of, it's good fun. It's clean fun. And we all know that Liverpool want to pay attention to the people we're signing. And I think if we can get back to doing that, where we are beating people to the punch in terms of making signings that other people want or will want in a couple of seasons, I think that's really where, if you look at the past 10 years, I would say that's when we were best, is when people wanted our players. The last couple of seasons, nobody's really wanted our players, and that's not what we want. So that I think that does that. But in addition to that, if we look back to this past weekend and remember back to the Saints kit launch video, Ralph said all we need is our fans, and so they had the Saints Fest. They had him on stage. They had the women's football coach on stage. They did some Q&A. They had a beach. They had all this stuff. It looked like a really good time. Tom Deacon also looked like he had a really good time. Several people pointing out that if you find somebody that looks at you the way Tom Deacon looks at Ralph Hasenhuttl, then that is who you should be with. Also, I don't know. We all seem to have a pretty good time having fun with Tom on social media. So, any big takeaways from the Saints Fest, or do you think it's a good move for Ralph and the club trying to get the fans on board this early?
It looked like a great event, actually. It was good to see the fans getting involved with it. Ralph coming to talk to the fans. It just keeps the club and the fans together, and that's what they've been talking about. Because like I said, we've always been a family club, so to see the support that Ralph got, and obviously they spoke to the woman's manager as well, so she was there as well, and that was a good way for her to let us know what was happening with the women's side. And Ralph was quite open about transfers, that there was one imminent signing, which was Adams, and he's still looking for another two, which makes another 2 or 3, so that makes the fans excited, and they left there not only after a good day thinking that we've still got some more signings to look forward to. So I thought it was just a good event for fans to know what was happening, what Ralph's plans were for the season. So I think all round good, and I think they should do it again next season. Keep it going. I think
it is important to get the fans on side, and I think especially if you look at where the club was, in terms of how they were. I don't know, in terms of their relationship with the fans for the past couple of seasons has been questionable. And I think that's shown up in the way St. Mary's sounds on a Saturday afternoon, the way the fans feel about the team. And it's not everybody. Some fans show up and are behind the team no matter what. Some fans think that you can't be, or they choose to take it out kind of on the players out of frustration or whatever it is. And that kind of goes back to the point that I made earlier, where I hope that Adams gets the support from the home fans. And you're right. The club is a family club, and it's part of what makes it so great is that you have a lot of younger fans in the stands. You have a lot of people who are of all ages kind of that show up and support the team. So you just hope that this brings them all together and encourages kind of the next generation of fans to show up and really be a huge part of it. But, I think that it is a good idea, and I don't know how much of it comes from Ralph or how much of it comes from other people around the club, but you kind of look at the way he embraced the fans and what he forced the guys to do last season, and coming from a place other than England, I think sometimes we look at it and go, well, this isn't quite the same. This isn't what we're used to. Mark Hughes could hardly be asked to come out and really clap the fans or do anything else other than the obligatory kind of center circle spin every once in a while after he, told his players, well, we suck in the center circle or whatever the heck he actually told them, because he was never it didn't seem to be very encouraging. Or I guess actually the only reason he would watch in the middle is to yell at the refs, which I do miss a little bit. But I think that this move from him, from the club, and I'm giving more credit to Ralph maybe than maybe it's not all his fault, but I think it's well worth it, and I think he'll be. I don't know. I think we will see the benefits of this if we continue to do events like this. I just hope people show up, and luckily I think the weather cooperated for you, which was nice. Yeah, the weather was good, and I think it makes. And this is Ralph's first pre-season for the club as well, which I think the players will be dreading. Obviously, because I think there's going to be a lot of work put in from Ralph. And when he first joined, he's managed to get his points across, but this will be his first pre-season to make this squad his. And I think when we start at Turf Moor in August, that will be Ralph's squad. Because everyone used to say we still had a bit of Mark Hughes' squad, then it was Ralph's. Whereas, obviously, normally the transfer window closes before the season, so we'll have our squad ready for Burnley, and it will be. I think after this pre-season, it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing the games, how Ralph's point gets put across, how the new players adapt, how some of the players that didn't do as well last season adapt. Maybe some of the players that have come back get given a chance. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully it can go well for us this year. Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on and answer some questions. We have some from Instagram, Twitter, and of course from Patreon. Patrons of the show pay a small monthly fee, and they get some additional benefits, including access to a private chat, priority for having their questions answered on the show, and also those who pay $5 a month or more have access to an additional podcast episode per month. So special thanks to all the patrons who do that. If you're interested, you can sign up by going to patreon.com/SFC delivery, or there are links on the show website at southamptondelivery.com. But we will not start on Patreon. We will go back to that. Let's start on Instagram. We touched on it a little bit earlier. But Ethan_Ling15 asks, who will we sign after Che in your opinion? And I'll be honest, I think positionally we discussed it. I think a center back would be great. We were linked to Sebastian Rode, and I don't see that happening. That doesn't fit the profile. He's not a center back even. Is a midfielder, and I don't really see us going that route for him, despite I guess the fee didn't seem to be outrageous. But do you have anybody in mind that do you think Saints are targeting right now, or do you think we're kind of just focused? It's probably going to be a center back, and that'll be fine.
Yeah. So it's bad, really. There isn't any names really out there for a centre back. That would be my next position for us to go for, but there's no names. I mean, we were linked with Gary Cahill, but he doesn't. That was before Ralph come out and said, "I'm looking for players under 24." So I think whoever the player is will be a youngster. But obviously, we haven't got a lot of names to go on, so it's a bit of we can't really pick out a player we think. It's more of a position choice rather than names at this point.
Yeah, I unfortunately I don't have inside information, and one thing that I dislike is people pretending to have that inside information. So I'm not going to do that at this point. But Ethan, thanks. And if we come up with something that's a little bit more concrete, of course we will update either on the show next week or in the newsletter that'll come out on Friday. So let's move on to Twitter. Christian Candler, who is at Candler Nero, who writes for the newsletter and is a good friend of the show. He says, with Targett being sold, do you think Vokins will move or break into the first team? I don't know. I'm interested to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I was actually going to add to that point when you asked about what was going to happen after Bertrand, and I think he was one of the reasons that Targett left, because there's been, I can't remember if it was Sam Wallace who'd done the article or someone else or Adam Leach, but someone had put that Vokins was going to be tested this pre-season. Hence, the decision was made that Bertrand and Targett have to go. Also, one of them had to go. So I think he'll be tested this pre-season. That's why I think Bertrand was the one more likely to stay. Because of his experience, he can use his experience to help Vokins. And then I think with Bertrand and Vokins, we might be looking good in left back. So they might not worry about buying anyone for left back because of that.
Yeah, I think Vokins can do a job there as a backup. And I think he'll be there. And if you look kind of at the profile of what Ralph is looking for as a young player, he's done a great job playing for the under 23s. And I think it was Blackmore maybe who wrote that Ralph may blood him in during preseason. And I think that kind of lines up with how the club is set up to run. And so I think that'll be fine. I would be worried though, as I said earlier with Targett, if suddenly Bertrand gets injured, which he tends to do. And you suddenly have Vokins and Valerie starting. You could have a potential backline of Valerie, Bednarak, Vestergaard, and Vokins, and that could pose a bit of an issue for us. But we'll kind of have to see. And I think it's not all going to be fixed this transfer window. There are going to be changes that happen over the course of a couple of seasons that I think that'll really see us get back on track. But I think we're making a good start here, and I think Vokins will definitely play a role, I guess, this season. We'll have to see how he does over the start of preseason and see if he gets some time maybe in some of these early preseason matches, which are coming up quite soon. Yeah,
which I'm looking forward to because I've missed football. So any type of football that I can watch with Southampton in it's good for us.
We do have another question from Twitter. It comes from Dan, who's at Holy Hoiberg, and he says, which managerial press conference was more iconic, Koeman and his chips and mayonnaise, or Nigel and his man and the glass recital? Which of those sticks out to you the most?
I must say, as much as I like the Koeman one, Adkins one was amazing. It was just the fact that he was under pressure. There was I think at that time he was linked. So there were stories that he was going to be sacked, and he was asked about what pressure was like, and he done a poem. I think it was called Man and the Glass, and he just presented it. So it was just amazing to I think the person who asked him the question about his future didn't know what had hit him, and he literally come out with this poem. He ended it, and basically, I think that as much like I said, the Koeman thing was hilarious because of the way he said it, but just the way Nigel was that made Nigel. That's why he is a legend, because no matter how much pressure he's under, because most managers get all, do you know what I mean? They get funny, but he just took the joke out of it, made a poem, and I think that's 100% my answer without a shadow of a doubt.
All right,
all right. One.
I have nothing to add to that there. I will say that Adkins was Glenn De La Cour, who was on the show last week. He was the assistant manager for his team of the not of the season, but of over the 10 years that he's been writing the blog. He chose Adkins as his assistant manager to Pochettino, who was going to be the actual manager. So a big I don't know. I think Adkins, a lot of people still like him, still appreciate him, still look forward to still like what he did with the football club when he was here. So I think that's fine. But we do have a question from Patron, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. But it says, how do you guys feel about Targett leaving? I quite like him, and I feel he was always improving. However, I realize that I am in the minority here. And how excited are we about the new striker coming in? So I think we've established our excitement for Che Adams coming in. We have talked a little bit about Targett leaving, but just kind of final thoughts and feelings on him. For me, I'm gonna jump in and go first here. I think it's a good move for him. I think it's the right move for him. There's a little bit of sentimentality for me because he is an academy product. You look at I still think fondly back to him and James Ward-Prowse going. I think with the under 21s with England and playing well and winning things, and I think that I always hoped that they were kind of going to do it together. I really enjoyed watching Targett play when he was at Fulham because he was getting game time, and I was able to watch a lot of those matches here, and so for him to be able to go and play elsewhere, I think I'm going to look at him and think, I'm happy to see him play. Whereas some of the other guys that have left the club in recent seasons, I don't always feel that way about them. But, I'm going to enjoy watching him in the same way I enjoy watching, guys like Sadio Mane play or the highlights of Dusan Tadic. Like I like those guys. I enjoy them getting to play football. So I understand that he was young and still kind of could maybe improve, but I don't think maybe he had all of the attributes that Ralph was looking for at a fullback. So best of luck to him, and I think I think he'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. I think it's a good move for everybody. Yeah,
I follow them sentiments on how you just ended that, but yeah, no, I think Matt just wanted to have a change. It's a hard one because he's been a Southampton boy. He's obviously grown up as a fan, and yeah, no, I think the move for him is good. I said Aston Villa's a good club. They'll give him plenty of chances, which he didn't get enough at Southampton. I don't think he was obviously offered that guarantee. But yeah, no, I've said it before. Like I said, I think he'll be fine. We'll be fine. And yeah, he's not gone to Liverpool, so bonus.
There we go. That'll be the next move.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, I don't know. Do we cover everything? Do we miss? I'm sure we missed something, but I don't know what it is.
Well, I was going to say, did you want to mention a certain match that's coming up, or are you trying to forget that?
I don't want to forget that. I think it's going to be great. So today, by the time this comes out, it'll be USA versus England in the semifinals of the World Cup, and I am excited. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know. How are you feeling about it?
Well, I think it'd be an easy win. No, in all seriousness, no, it's going to be a tough game. Obviously, I've not always been a fan of I've got into it more over the years, but I think it's going to be a tough game. The US are quite. I'm looking because I've had to read up a bit about it, so I could be fully focused on it. But I think it's going to be a tough game. Obviously, I hope England make it through because if they don't make it through, then as Phil Neville said in his press conference, he thinks it will be a failure. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game. But hopefully England win. Obviously, I know you'll go for the US, so obviously we won't agree on that one, but yeah.
Well, I think that, I've never seen the US women's team play. I've seen the England women's team play, and I've seen the US men's team play. The women's team for England hold a special place for me, just because that's the first game I ever saw at St. Mary's. And it's the national team, and it was a great chance to take my daughter and my son and my wife. But especially the kind of focus was on my daughter that day to be able to go watch women play and just, tell them, these are professionals, they're playing for their country. This is, and try to just show her that those opportunities are out there if she chooses. So I think that's important. And I think that at least in our women's team carries, they're the most successful team in professional football or international football for the United States. Obviously, the men aren't as good. They don't carry the same kind of standing that the women do, and they don't command as much respect. The women players are more outspoken. You think of people like Hope Solo, who are no longer on the team. You think of some of the things that Megan Rapinoe, who is going to be a key player for us going forward tomorrow, and has been great this tournament. You think of some of the things she's done, and for those people who don't know, when Colin Kaepernick, an NFL football and American football player, was kneeling for the national anthem, she was the only player to kneel for the national anthem, and the U.S. Soccer Federation changed rules and said, you can't do that. And so now she no longer sings it. And it's not that she's not patriotic. It's not that she doesn't love the country. But it's that, she thinks that there are some injustices that need to be solved. And I can respect almost anybody standing up for what they believe in to that extent. And so for her to do that and for to still come out and play the way she's played, I think it's been great. Just on the game itself, I think it's going to be tough. The U.S. are good, but the expectation is that they're going to win. And so if they don't win, then it is a failure. And so, the women have a lot of pressure to play with, and the team selection has been different than people would have liked. We're playing essentially a midfielder at left back, and that will leave some space for you down the right hand side. So we'll have to see kind of how that goes. So I don't know. Tomorrow I will be U.S. jersey on. I think I have. Have you ever seen Napoleon Dynamite?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
So Rex Kwon Do.
Mm-hmm.
I have those pants. I will probably be wearing them tomorrow, and hopefully the U.S. will roundhouse kick England out of this, and it'll be a good 4th of July. And after that, so
I'll disagree on that one.
It's fine. It's fine. We can agree to disagree. I have tweets lined up for a couple people if it all goes well. But anyway, we've done the questions. We've done that. I will say good luck to you tomorrow, but I don't mean it, or today, but I don't mean it. And the only other thing is we should just mention that you pointed out to me, there's been some backroom changes. I think the most significant would be that Dave Watson has now gone from goalkeeping coach to coach, and Andrew Sparks has come in as the new goalkeeping coach. And I think you're happy with that overall, correct?
Yeah, Dave Watson's been given a lot of criticism with his job, and there was reports that he was actually going to leave. So I'm guessing Ralph decided, because when you see him during the games, you see Dave Watson with the clipboard talking to players. I think they're thinking with this new appointment of Andrew. I don't really know Andrew Sparks, but obviously I know he's come from Orlando Pirates, and I don't really know a massive thing about him, but I think his appointment lets Dave focus more on the coaching side, and I think Ralph likes having him alongside him, so they've kept him on board, and I think it keeps the staff quite happy.
Yeah, I think it'll be good, and it give it a little bit of a fresh look to the goalkeepers as well, and I think that'll be nice, and hopefully we just kind of continue the upward trajectory. And if Ralph, I think we're all in this boat where if Ralph says do it, then we're going to do it, and I think we're going to be happy with it. So for the most part, I think we're all good with that. But Jay, as always, it's been wonderful to talk with you, and I'm looking forward to another season of working with you. People can find you on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Southampton Page. And one of the things you guys are doing on Twitter, and we've talked about the structure of how the page is set up before. You do all the Instagram stuff. You have a couple of guys who help out on Twitter, and they are running a poll of, I think, the last 10 years, right? So they are trying to figure out the team of the decade, I guess.
Yeah, that is currently being run by Aidan. I think Adkins won the manager, Kelvin won the goalkeeper, and there's currently as we speak, I think there's a poll going on for right back. So be interesting to see. There's some good right backs in there. I think it's Fraser Richardson, Nathaniel Klein.
I think he threw Valerie in
Cedric
as well.
And Valerie. Who's winning?
I want to say it was Klein was winning yesterday, but we'll have to wait and see, because that'll be done by the time this comes out. But people should make sure and get in there and vote on the rest of the positions, so they can kind of keep up, and we'll see who winds up to be in the team of the decade. So people can check that out, and check out all the other transfer news and everything else that's going on there. And we'll be back on Friday with the newsletter, and we'll be back next week with another episode. But Jay, thanks so much, and take care.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and looking forward to speaking to you again soon.
And that does it for this episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Special thanks this week goes out to Jay. Thank you for joining me for episode 129. And thank you for, on a personal level, your friendship, for supporting me and supporting the show in the way that you've done. You have helped in ways that I cannot explain. And on a general level, I think I can speak for some of the followers of your page in saying that thank you for all the hard work you do in keeping us up to date with everything that's going on at the football club. You do a fantastic job. To the guys at Twitter or on Twitter who run the page, thank you so much for your work there. You guys are doing a great job. Get over there, participate in the team of the decade. They are running that poll now. Also, to the guys on Twitter, sorry about what I put in the group chat. It was the wrong one. Don't open it at work. If you're on social media and you'd like to follow this show, you can do that. We are at SFCDELL_IVERY on Twitter and Instagram. We're at facebook.com/SFC Delivery as well. The easiest way to get those is just to go to southamptondelivery.com, which is the show's website. Use the links that are there. And while you're there, you can sign up for the newsletter or subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Acast, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, or wherever else you listen to your podcast. There are links there to make it nice and easy. Matt Beeling of the We Are Southampton page does the logo for the show. Matt is really good at his job, which is graphic design. So thank you, Matt, for everything that you've done to help me out. I do appreciate it. All music for the show comes courtesy of the Free Music Archive at freemusicarchive.org. The intro song is Epic Song by Boxcat Games, and the intro credits that you're listening to right now is Aim is True by Poddington Bear. I am fortunate to be able to do this show each and every week. There are times when I don't want to, and there are times that you all help me to get over that and to do it. And once I sit down to do it, it is some of the most fun that I have each and every week. So thank you for all of that. Just by listening, you are a huge source of support, even when things aren't going well. Shout out to everybody at Patreon for supporting the show. You make the show possible by supporting the show each and every week. I do appreciate that. And with that said, we will be back with another edition of the newsletter on Friday. We'll be back next Tuesday with an episode of the podcast. And until then, remember that together, we march on. I'm gonna put something in the show notes for you to look at. Go down to the bottom of the questions. I'm cutting this part out of the show. There's no reason I'm leaving this in. But did you see this?
Let's quickly refresh. Need to refresh on me. Oh yes, I'm seeing.
It's so bad.
Yeah. Well, there's. Well, safe to say, there's your newsletter sorted.
I have to to give the guy credit. That's hilarious. Oh man.
Oh dearie me, well that's brilliant. I must say, dearie me.